Hi guys, my name is Stephanie, and you're listening to Canvas and Corsets, a history podcast about art, fashion, royalty, and everything in between. Hello everyone, welcome to the Canvas and Corsets podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host. I am so excited to be here to discuss all things history with you. This podcast is, first and foremost, a history podcast with an emphasis on art, fashion, and all things beautiful. I chose the title Canvas and Corsets because I wanted something that conveyed that this is a history podcast, but that it also emphasizes art and fashion. But I also wanted a title that left enough space for us to explore and discuss any topic at all. Some of my most favorite topics include women in history, medieval Europe, art history, royalty. So I will cover a lot of topics such as English queens, medieval tapestries, and Victorian fashion. But I'll also cover more diverse topics like Islamic architecture, Native American textiles, and the Mongol Empire. My goal is to make history as casual and as fun as possible. Instead of thinking of us in a classroom setting, think of it more of like we're going to brunch and I have a really great story to tell you. I love casual history. I love it when people aren't so uppity about history or art, and I love it when people can use modern slang and just relate to the average person. That's what I want history to be, and that's what I'm trying to achieve on this podcast. It is a little bit harder to be as casual as I'd like to be because it's just myself. I don't have someone to bounce off of, but I'm going to try my best. So why should you listen to this podcast? Why should you listen to me? What gives me the right? I have recently graduated with a bachelor's in art history from university. But not only that, but I have always loved history. I've had a relationship with it my entire life. It's always been something I've pursued, something I've cared a lot about. When I took my first art history class in community college, it was the first time I ever really loved education. And I would love to be the one to share that excitement over learning with you. So, in short, nothing really gives me the right besides a measly bachelor's degree and extreme passion. You just gotta have faith in me, I guess. Man, I'm really selling myself here. But during my time in college, I realized that I really loved researching and learning, and I felt connected to everything that I was learning about. I also realized that it takes a lot of work and it's difficult, and a really fun way that I was learning about everything in my spare time was through podcasts. I've listened to some really great historical podcasts that really inspired me to make my own so that I can go on my own journey and learn about things that I find really fascinating or that I would need to learn more about. So I was inspired by these podcasts to be here with you today. This is a learning experience. I've never made a podcast before. I don't have any professional training in research. I've never had a job in history. That's the goal, but it hasn't happened. So this is going to be a journey, and I hope you stick with me through it all. Please be patient and bear with me as I'm sure there's going to be bumps in the road. It's just the way it is. That being said, this podcast should in no way be used for any educational or professional purposes. Please don't. Just don't. But I will list any sources that I use for my research, and then you can decide whether or not that's a source that you want to use in your own research. Some things to note. This podcast is a safe space, as well as any social media associated with this podcast. I hope to create a community of active listeners who are just as passionate about history as I am, but I want that community to be a place where diverse ideas, opinions, and creativity can safely be shared and celebrated. That being said, I love debating, a little bit too much, and difference of opinion is perfectly fine. But I do not like belittlement, and I will not tolerate hate speech of any kind. This is a happy and kind community that we are creating. Please be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and be kind to me because I am sensitive. Also, something you should note is that I'm not a swearing person by nature, but I am an adult, and my podcast is geared towards other adults. So fair warning, the occasional swear word might slip if this happens. I'll do my best to edit it out or label the episode explicit, but sometimes swearing is just the only response you can give to some historical events or people, because history, if you haven't figured it out yet, you will just sometimes it's not great. It really bad things happen all the time, and people sometimes you think they're really cool and then they're not. They do awful things. Sometimes the most appropriate response is swearing. I think you will understand when that time comes. So yeah, thank you for being here. Just so you know, this is going to be a bi-weekly podcast, or fortnightly, which is a cooler word in my opinion. But please, again, be patient. This is a learning experience and a side hobby for me. Life is unpredictable and anxiety is high. But know that I am trying my best, and it's definitely important for me to get these out every 2 weeks. You can follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Canvas and Corsets. No hyphens, no spaces, just Canvas and Corsets. My preferred social media is Instagram, but I will do my best to be active on all 3 social medias. Please message me if you have a question or if you have a preference on what you'd like to hear in future episodes. I'm definitely open to hearing all your ideas and suggestions. Also, if you're feeling really nice today, please give this podcast a review, preferably a 5-star review if you love it. If you don't love it, then you don't need to leave any reviews. Honestly, any sort of interaction is greatly appreciated. Again, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to everything that we're going to talk about in the future. I have a lot of amazing ideas, not just for episodes, but also for outside the podcast. But for now, we're just going to take it 1 episode at a time. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in episode 1.